Hello everyone and welcome to the Positivity Vibe Tribe space here on Twitter. Welcome everyone to the Positivity Vibe Tribe, and today we're talking about how and why we set boundaries. So this is a community space, so super excited. Hey, welcome Charity. Beautiful new profile pic, I noticed. I love it. Welcome Kay. Yeah, this is going to be an amazing space, community space, and of course that means we're going to invite everybody up. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to load this nest up with lots of goodies. So let's load up first of all self-care living video. It's loaded up. Next I'm going to load up the info for our sponsors, Wordsmith Pakistan. And then next is going up there the link to the Positivity Vibe Tribe, of course, community, and then a guided meditation on self-care. And then also I'm posting up last night's show from our partners. Hey, excited to see everybody here. Hey, welcome, Erica. I know you're going to have a lot of thoughts on this topic. This is a community space, so we are welcoming everybody up here. If you'd like to join early in the piece, I'll send you an invite for the mic. I'm just doing a little bit of preparation here with the space and just loaded up the nest, and then we're going to get going. Anybody else that would like to join this conversation that's been actually well requested on boundary setting, so I am super excited because of that we are finally having this conversation. It's really important, and many people want to learn how to navigate this topic. Okay, we have one of our co-hosts. Stephen has arrived. Just sending you your co-host superpowers, of course. All right. So the chat is also live. I'm just going to put in a welcome post. Welcome to everyone in the space. So do feel free to jump into the chat as well and say hi or share something about this topic. Hey, welcome, Stephen.
Greetings. Good morning, Indra. Good morning, group. Good morning, tribe, the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Good morning.
Yay! Yep. You have come and arrived with vigor. All right, so this is going to be a great discussion. Everybody load up and jump into the chat. I've just put the welcome note in the chat as a first thing, and then the chat is live, so do pop into the chat, say hi. What are your thoughts on this topic that we're going to be discussing today? So don't be shy, that's for sure. We're going to take speakers in a minute. Is there something that you had to share, Aladdin? Did you want to speak? You're welcome.
Yeah, hi everyone here and there. Hi Indra, how are you everyone? Hi Mr. Stephen. I actually just saw the space and I'm following you for a long time. And whatever space you are opening, I'll just jump in and I would like to participate for sure. For time being now, I'm just saying hi. I will stay as a listener. Later on, I will contribute with you guys. Okay?
Sure, you're welcome to just sit there as a speaker for the moment and just hold position while you get your feet in and understand where we're going with this conversation. But hey, welcome.
Okay.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining the space, and warm welcome because it's your first time in the space. And for anybody else that has just discovered the space too, warm welcome. I'm starting to see some regulars here. Richard is here, and of course, hey, Joshua is here, one of our newest community moderators. Warm welcome. We love that, that our moderators turn up. Hey, here is our second co-host has arrived in the building. Yay. Welcome to Rev. Let's get you set up. Hey, Rev, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Indra. Good morning, Stephen. Lovely to be here this morning.
Well, we are certainly so blessed to have you here. It's going to be an amazing space, a well-requested topic in the tribe, actually. So that's why it has been in production, pre-production, this topic. And finally, we've been able to bring it live. So that is truly exciting, I have to say. So yeah, and lots more. And yeah, go ahead and load up that nest with anything that you have. Also, Rev, just a sneak peek about what we're talking about. Tonight, I'm going to be interviewed on Revolution McInnes' show over on the Fireside platform. So I believe he's going to even have a link for you guys if you want to join tonight. And it's going to be all about movie talk. So that's going to be fun. Okay, let's welcome everybody in here. Hey, welcome. Lance and Karen are here. Warm welcome. George, Legion, Julia. Hey, Julia, thank you so much for all the love with the tweets today. Really appreciate you, and so wonderful to see you. Dave is here. Of course, Richard is here. Faison, Sanan, Sandy, James, and Maura. Okay, you guys, on the bottom right-hand corner is the chat. So don't be shy about getting into the chat, sharing your thoughts. Love to hear that. Love to hear your thoughts about this topic, about the space, any questions you have, want to share some experiences. The chat is there if you don't want to come up and speak or if you're busy working. And now would be a really great time to tweet out the space and share it with others. The easiest way to even do that now is to also hit that button, the button on the right-hand corner. That's a chat. And then you can simply hit the retweet button, either add a comment as a quote tweet and send it out into the universe, or just send it out as it is. Just retweet it. So love you to share that. I'm going to do that as well right now. I'm going to say, join us live in the space. With the tribe, of course. And lots of fire, because that's what we are today. We are full of fire in this tribe. So amazing. All right. Okay, we are getting loaded up here. It is a community space, so do feel welcome to join. Oh, wow. I want to hear if Pixie has any thoughts on this idea. I know you do, so I'm inviting you up, of course, as we are setting up this space. Warm welcome, Pixie. Love having you in my spaces. The tribe loves you too. Hey, and you're so missed. All right, so we have a lot of bodies in here. If you haven't already tweeted out and shared the space, please do, because you never know who needs to hear what is going to be shared in this space about this powerful topic, how and why we set boundaries. It's really that simple. This topic is incredible. I'm super excited about it. And let's make an official start to the show. What do you think, Team PVT, are we ready to start?
I think we should. That's what the tribe gathered for. Might as well kick it off.
All right, you heard them. It's time to start this official show. All right, everybody, welcome to the Positivity Vibe Tribe show. And I am Indra Bartona, producer in the film and television industry, TV host, and founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. So originally, I'm from the Gold Coast, Australia, as you can hear, lived in London for several years, and now based in Los Angeles. A little bit of background on the Positivity Vibe Tribe. I started my YouTube channel in June last year with a positive vibe lifestyle theme, and Positivity Vibe Tribe became my personal brand. Positivity Vibe Tribe Twitter Spaces is the natural evolution to bridge the gap between all social media platforms and, most importantly, bring them to life with all of you. So today I am joined by my fabulous co-hosts, social audio guru, Rev McLive, and Stephen J. Casciano, our NFT designer and behind-the-scenes team member, super extraordinaire. Plus, bonus, our latest community moderator, Joshua Kangley, is here in the space. And don't be surprised if we get a couple more of our moderators that sneak in a bit later. All right, so super excited about this topic, how and why we set boundaries. All right, just a little bit of background and thought about this. So this is definitely a topic that I've had many DMs and requests about in the past, and it has been a show that has been in the coming because it's heavily requested, and there is a need for us to have this sense of awareness of boundaries, why we set boundaries. The main reason to set boundaries is to bring back some kind of balance in our life. Usually there's an imbalance within a relationship where we need to decide if it's good for us or not, or maybe even with our work and other areas. The types of boundaries that we can talk about in this space that I feel are the main ones to focus on is time, the physical, emotional, material, and the workplace. So that's a lot of boundary setting for any of us to consider at any one time. When you think about it, it's really a lot, but it almost falls under that self-care realm, and that's why Up in the Nest, let's just go for a quick visit up in the nest. When I talk about Up in the Nest, it's the dots above the space that you can scroll back and forth. So on the far right, we have the Self-Care Living YouTube show that I've created. It's under 10 minutes. Do watch that if you're curious about self-care and you want to take it to another level. And love your subscribe if you resonate with the content. And next we have our sponsors, Wordsmith Pakistan. Thank you so much for all that you do and your support and beautiful content creation. Their information is up there if you want to reach out for help with your content creation. Next, there is a link to our vibrant community, the Positivity Vibe Tribe. If you're not already a member, get in the tribe and get the vibes, everybody. Yes. And then, of course, to relax and zen out, there is a self-care meditation that I've got as a guided meditation. And then also there's the replay to last night's show, which is our partner show, Bunsen and Beaker, the dog account, and they also talk about pets and science. And you'll get to hear my dolphin story if you listen to that show. And then the very last thing, or the very first thing, depending on what side you're scrolling from, is tonight I'm going to be a guest on Revolution McInnes' show over on the Fireside platform. So he will talk about that very soon. All right, so let's jump into this topic. Now that I've set the stage for setting boundaries, let's go to Pixie first. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Pixie, on this topic and what it means for you.
Good morning, Indra. It is 10 in the morning, and I am on my day off. So I like to set boundaries with knowing where my personal energy is going to go for the day. I like to make sure that on the days that I have off, that I'm relaxing, that I'm kind of unwinding from work. So it sets me up for success. Today's the day that I teach people, I help people, I grow with other people. I like to jump into the Positive Vibe Tribe, the creator community that you guys have built. Just it's full of like positivity, and one of the things I'm doing is setting boundaries with the negative stuff. I don't want to see who you're grumping at. I don't want to see all of that negative stuff. So I'm setting boundaries in what I consume. I like to I like to see a lot of positive stuff. So when I set boundaries like that, I make sure that I focus my time, that I'm not doom scrolling here on Twitter, that I'm really being consistent in what I want to do and how I want to set myself up to succeed. Later on today, I'm going to do a podcast just like you. And then I'm probably going to go work out because I've set these boundaries and set myself up for something for the later on the week that I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but knowing my time and my limit really helps me set my boundaries for what makes me succeed for the rest of the week. So I love this conversation. Thank you for having me up, Indra. I miss being in here with you guys.
Warm welcome, Pixie. And we have missed you so much too, and love having your voice. Don't go away because we're going to go around the panel. It's going to be sort of like a fun panel discussion in here. So, on this topic, because so much is going to unfold. I can feel it. It's in the vibes. It's in the space. Yay. Okay, over to Josh. Josh is next in the space. A warm welcome, one of our community moderators.
Hey Indra, hey Stephen, hey Rev, hey Tribe. How was everybody today? Wow, Pixie started off really, really good there. She hit it on the head, I think, in describing boundaries. And for me, it's a really relevant topic because I've learned recently that I was not setting boundaries, and I became, way unbalanced. And so, Indra, you said it in the beginning, setting boundaries really is about self-care. It shows respect to yourself and care for yourself, where you're spending your time, where you're spending your energy. Like Pixie said, what are we consuming? Really setting boundaries is self-care. And so for me, I became unbalanced with my work, for instance. So for me, it was a really an unbalance in my work situation. So it became a heavy, priority for me. And, in doing that, it came at the cost of really nourishing some things that I should have, like my health and my family. So I had to make some decisions recently. So this is a really great topic for me to tune into and listen to and hear everybody's thoughts on. I'll just say to everybody listening, your physical and mental health are extremely important and should be prioritized. So please take care. Something that I'm learning to do myself just now is really scheduling and blocking some time to nourish some other elements of my life, like family and like being creative. Those are things that are super important, and we often forget. So, like Pixie said, once you do these things and you spend some time nourishing some other elements of your life, it really does set you up for success because you kind of balance yourself and you're recharged and you're ready to go. So that's my kind of just 2 cents. Thank you for letting me come up and speaking, and I'm just so glad to listen in to everybody else's thoughts. Thank you all.
Hey Josh, so many nuggets there on, wow, balancing yourself and also that awareness of family and the importance of prioritizing that time and time to nurture yourself. So valuable. I think when we can tune into ourselves, which is what I just picked up from you, we almost become more aware of the dynamics of the relationships around us. good and bad. There's different levels of relationships and how they impact us. So sometimes it's our life experience that starts to educate us about sensing the favorable people that lift us up and touch our soul in some positive way. And something within us can often feel out of sync or place. And sometimes there's an exploration time that's required to exactly pinpoint the area that we need to realign. And it sounded like you did that exercise of going into exploration and you had to realign. So that is really amazing and exciting. And we're going to come swoop back round on the panel to you a little bit later with that. Okay, so let's go to our co-hosts and thoughts. Rev, what are your thoughts on setting boundaries? He may not be available because he has a very active 9-year-old. So let's go to Stephen. We'll come back. We'll grab you later. I know you're probably building some tower at the moment.
Sure. When we speak of boundaries, we're actually talking about limitations, and they're self-imposed limitations. 5 areas of life for us to be mindful of: the spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, and financial. And each of these areas require a handful of management, or at least points of order. I wouldn't say that e- I could be too spiritual or spend too much time in spirituality, but I don't think my life would progress forward if I went outside, sat under a tree, and sang "Do Lord" for the remainder of the day, and did that every day and called it a spiritual quest. So there's boundaries in every one of these areas. Now, fortunately for me, my financial life is it takes care of itself. It sets its own limits. And I say that jokingly. I do believe that a life is built with unlimited capacity, and it's finding the narrow routes that allow us to be limitless in each of those: spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, and financial. And this is a lesson that was taught externally, not something I stumbled upon on my own, but having mentors, and this particular one on boundaries and, more importantly, the self imposed limitations from within ourselves. Before we even talk about external stimulus, which is people asking you to do things or taking on more work than you're able, or maybe working out when you really should be resting. So these are all boundaries. These are all uh, governing points, self-imposed limitation, regulation, whatever you want to call it. These are the benchmarks that we set for ourselves that kind of keep us in the game, keep us centered, keep us on track for what our goals are. And I'm fond of the topic, and we tend to be really topical about this. And I've just met so many people that it's a lack of boundaries that uh, I think is kind of a fatal downfall. So I'm intrigued, and I'm hoping both Rose and Jenny will step up and speak to the topic as well. No pressure, ladies.
Hey, Stephen, I'm going to jump in there real quick. I was just a little slow on the button there, Indra, but I do want to say, Stephen, that was phenomenal. And you know, I think I'm a fairly knowledgeable dude, but I really only started setting boundaries in the last like year and really understanding how important they are. So I'm have been boundaryless for a long time. So this is going to be a great discussion. Appreciate everything you said there. And I do, absolutely know how, important it is to set boundaries. And if you haven't set boundaries, or you know somebody that needs to set boundaries, get them in here. Get them to come join us right now. I think we're going to hear some great stuff.
Thanks so much, both Stephen and Rev, on this topic of boundary setting. Now, with boundaries, look, I know this one thing is for sure, boundaries, especially when you're starting, and you realize, and just then we heard from Rev that he is at this new point of setting boundaries, which is great. It doesn't matter when you discover them. It's just important to have them as part of life, because it's really reflects onto your self-care. Boundaries and self-care are pretty much best buddies, okay? They go hand in hand, because when you are giving yourself what you need, whether it's space, whether it's saying no thank you, whatever it is, it's really for your best interest, your highest good for you. And it's never easy, I think, to set the boundaries. Even if you've been doing it for a while, particularly in sometimes in work situations, in personal relationships, with family, those will definitely test us all. And it's never really going to get much easier, except we're going to figure out what are some of the things that help us along to do that. And I just want to talk about some of the times when we really do need to be more aware of our boundary setting, is when it really starts to affect us. When we are feeling, more stressed in our life, when we are not sleeping well, when we're a little bit more overreactive instead of, being our normal sort of more calm self and being able to move forward, not sleeping properly. There's a whole lot of other reasons that, start to build internally with us if we are not able to set those boundaries. And often what happens is it sort of goes a little bit too far sometimes when we haven't set those boundaries, and we kind of feel like we're running in a bit of a spiral. So, it's still not too late, even if you're sitting in that position, to ever start to commence setting the boundaries. I find that it's really good to have some solitude time, to go for a walk, to go and sit in your garden, to play some music and think about, what it is. And I mean, often, if there's definitely some identifiers that say, okay, look, it's really time that I set some boundaries here. If you find that you have, it's not easy for you to say the word no. And, for many of us, we don't want to do that. We want to be, not that we want to be people pleasers, in fact, we just want to do good for others. We want to be helpful. We want to be of service. But sometimes we have to say no, because it's for our greater good. And if our cup isn't full to the top, then we certainly cannot be of service to others. We have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves in that self-care mode, so that we can be of service to others. Whereas there is, and I almost think it's at a subconscious level, because I know I can resonate even with some of these thoughts of, not wanting to, have people disappointed in me because I've said no, thank you. Have, family members kind of sigh at me when I've, all these reactions are going to come. So just know that and be ready. And that's where you just have to stand firm and grounded, and just know that this is preventing things from happening. When you set your boundaries, you can actually salvage relationships with people instead of going too far. And when you should have said no earlier, what can happen is, if you don't step up and set your boundaries, you can also feel resentment later towards those people, that group of people, that person, that family member, that situation, if you don't do it. So think of it as a really healthy thing for you and for others, because you can actually salvage and enhance relationships when you set that boundary. So you don't feel like you're being taken advantage of, and that you have this ongoing anxiety if a certain person texts you, or if you get the phone is ringing and then you think, oh, I'm not going to take that because of you haven't set the boundary. So that is, that it all comes back to that. And many of these things I have, experienced as well. Or sometimes we even think, oh, well, if we say no, that we can't do this, then we're going to miss an opportunity, or that person isn't going to come to us for in the future for some reason, or situation isn't going to unfold. And all those things are just anxiety and stress that we have within us. So it's really time, like if any of those things are popping up for you, to really look at those different areas in our life and really look at our workplace situation, the material belongings, emotional, physical, time, our relationships with everything in those realms, and really assess it. And I just want to say one other thing on that note, that if you're unsure where the stress is coming from or which relationship, sometimes it's good to just get a journal or even just a notepad and write some things out about how you felt after that last phone call, or how you felt just when you got that email from your boss, and things start to unfold, within your eyes, when you're looking back at those notes, and things start to fall into place, particularly if there's just so much going on and you're looking for that point of, I'm not sure where it is. So anyway, welcome, Rose, to the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Always a pleasure to have you here. Love to hear your thoughts on boundaries.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I see so many good faces and friends in the room: Pixie, Jenny, Rev, Stefan. So I was thinking as everybody was talking, and you have really clarified a lot, Indra. But I was thinking that what boundaries, you can call, like, the synonym for me, it was almost priorities. What priorities do we have? And that's so important. And as a woman, especially, I think, for example, I mean, I had 2 kids and then I had twins. And for a while, I just had no boundaries. There were no boundaries. And when it was Mother's Day, all I wanted to do was to leave the house and go for a walk, because I didn't have those boundaries. And now that I have, in terms of having some older kids, my daughter will often call me at like 3 or so, and it's always she's she's walking home from work, and 3 o'clock I'm usually busy with my own work, and I've had to learn to either say, hi, can I speak later, or just press the button, can I call you later, because like that's a boundary, because people always assume, I mean, as a mother, as that you're there all the time. And sometimes, I mean, I couldn't do that when, you have kids and they need to be fed, and, they need to be guided in a lot of ways. But now that they're older, there's still a question of, in some ways setting boundaries. And they set boundaries on me. So my daughter, for example, likes to wind down at 9, so I know don't call her at 9, or if I do, she's going to get on the phone and go, it's late. So, and then just as a freelancer, I think this is, and I don't know how many of us are here freelancers, but this is like just always a constant, kind of question. And as a freelancer, sometimes, like when I'm about to do a show or I've just done a show, I'm working really, a Woman to Follow live stream show, I'm working really hard the few days before, researching, posting, promoting, all kinds of things, right? And then, like last week, I celebrated with Indra and Jennifer Navarrete and Gia a first anniversary show. And the next morning, instead of doing any work, I said, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to take myself to the beach. And I took myself to the beach. I wore a swimsuit because I said, well, I can still swim. The water is warm. It may be cooler outside. And I also took, my husband once had gotten me these, they're kind of like crayons, but they're watercolors that you can put it, pens that you can, dip in water and make a watercolor. And I tried out with these a few times before, and I said, this is just like crayons. And I tried a new way, and somehow I had the energy to try a new way. And I sketched, I did a watercolor of a pigeon and the scenery. And it came out, not bad. And then I said to my husband, well, I'll be home at 12. And then I took a swim. So, that was, that for the week like that, I think that kind of thing, keeps me grounded and keeps me focused, that in the midst of the chaos, you take that time for yourself. So I hope that resonated with people. But, I think that even doctors, okay, I started producing a show during the pandemic for 2 women surgeons, and we were looking for a name. To call it this live stream show. And I came up with the name, She's on Call, because these doctors were saying that whatever, they're on call to their families, they had children, they're on call to their practice. And even when they're not on call, one of them said that she was at a concert and the band drummer, tapped her on the shoulder and said, I guess she had introduced herself as, doctor, and said, hey, check out my back. I have this, should I see a doctor? What is this? So, in all our roles, we're always being, we're on call. And, you have to come to grips. And I think it's a continuous process of, what's my priority? What's most important? And then setting those, trying to set those boundaries and keep at, and, I don't think it's something that is finite. You have to keep working at it. So anyway, there's some thoughts. Hope
I
that
thought that
resonated.
was awesome. The idea of roles and boundaries and always being on call, especially in the parental role. And then there are high pressure vocations that that on on demand, if your boss calls, there's the financial hook. And I already spoke to the spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, and put financial last. But really, if somebody tweaks you there, that's a pretty difficult place to put your foot down and establish boundaries if they're not established from the onset. But I thought that was very insightful. I think you gave clarity to, well, and I think I would kind of expect that of a journalist, so I shouldn't be too terribly surprised. But clarifying, where we might need boundaries, and yeah, the many roles we play, the parent, the lover, the neighbor, the a volunteer at a church or whatever worship organization, and then yes, civil duties. There's so many roles, and the need to set so many different boundaries. Unless we walk around as zombies who are exhausted, saying yes to everything. So, high five to Rose, Miss Jenny Q. Ta, corporate venture capitalist, Web3 entrepreneur, innovator, in fact, in the space, creating a brand new breakthrough for another pathway to make Web3 and NFTs simple to the common market. Excuse me. What's your take on boundaries, Miss Jenny Kuta?
Well, hello, everyone. Stephen, can you hear me well?
I can, loud and clear.
Gotcha. Good morning, everyone. Actually, this is not my usual topics, but been in touch with Indra. Had a call with her a couple days ago, so I guess we can call it bonding on Twitter. We're bonding on Twitter. So I'm hopping into her spaces more often now. So this is not my forte, boundaries and and the subjects that Indra is so great at. So I'm actually uh, more of a follower of this topic instead of uh, a lead in topics that I normally talk about on Twitter Spaces. But since we're talking about boundaries, which is all of us should have it. I believe I'm sitting at a cafe shop this morning because I'm about to go to a meeting soon. And on the top of my head, I believe there are numerous different types of boundaries, right, Indra and Stephen? Such as, there's physical and sexual boundaries, and then there's emotional, spiritual, mental boundaries. Um, and then there's financial and material boundaries, which I believe that that's my world when it comes to financial and material boundaries. Yes, I do have all the other ones too, but sometimes as a public figure, um, some people, maybe I'm included, uh, we don't want to open up too much about those personal areas, So, in terms of financial boundaries, I guess I can share this particular aspect is that unlike personal boundaries, such as physical, sexual, emotional, mental, spiritual, or religious boundaries, um, financial boundaries, ladies and gentlemen, may be the opposite. And here's why uh, I'm saying that when we place boundaries on our personal lives, once again, physical, sexual, emotional, mental, spiritual, it protects us in a way that we are safe, safe from being hurt, safe from, being harmed mentally, physically, etc. But when it comes to the financial aspect of things, if we set too much boundaries, then we're limiting the potential gains that we can get when it comes to investing, right? In the investing world, it's actually the opposite. In the investing world, it actually says more risk, more rewards. So if we set boundaries to limit those risks, then are we going to get rewarded as much as we should? So, as a human being, I don't know if I'm sharing it right or wrong, but I believe the topic isn't about right or wrong. It's about individualism. It depends on who we are. But obviously, I clearly draw the line between personal and public. Personal, obviously, we all have to set boundaries because we need to protect ourselves, um, from, again, being hurt, being harmed, mentally being affected, versus the public persona or in the investment field. The more boundaries that we set for ourselves, which equates to more being conservative. And if you're more conservative and you're not taking that much risk uh, when it comes to investing, NFTs, cryptocurrency, buying the dip, yada, 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 then maybe you may not get the financial success that you may be able to acquire if more risk were to be taken, or if less boundaries were to be placed upon yourself. So that's all I wanted to share. I hope that helps. I don't know. New topic for me, and that just happens to be the first thing that came out of my mind. So thank you so much for the opportunity this morning.
Wow, Jenny,
yeah.
Sorry, Stephen, did you want to go first?
No, please.
Okay. I was just going to say, Jenny, you touched on something very, very valuable. Well, particularly not like the financial. Also, the other thing is what you were describing was an abundance mindset, was having an open and abundance mindset, particularly in the area of finances. So the other thing is we always want to be, and I use this word balance with boundaries, because we don't want to overcorrect. We don't want to be so harsh with our boundaries that, Stephen or Rev text me and say blah blah blah, what about this, and I'm like, no, everything is no. I'm overcorrecting, right? I'm not even considering any possibilities. So we have to find that resonance within us, that ability to tune in. And for each situation, it's going to be vastly different. Particularly, as you mentioned, like maybe for these material and financial, we don't want to have anything that's limiting with any of our financial area in life. We always want to seek an abundance mindset. So, Jenny, that is just so valuable, that insight that you brought. I know you think, oh, well, this is a different area, but your insights are valuable to pretty much, I would say, every topic that we hold in the Positivity Vibe Tribe, because you're coming at it from a different aspect. And that's a really beautiful thing that opens up our minds here in this space to different ideas, instead of us thinking, okay, well, because it is a process of management, and it's always going to be ongoing boundaries. It may be every day, it may be every moment for some of us that work in very high power situations, like yourself as an entrepreneur, and a powerhouse as a businesswoman leading so many things. So that's going to be moment to moment. And then for many of us, maybe it's still moment to moment. It could be the text messages, the phone calls, the emails. If we really look at it, that's why I say there's this self-care component, that we must find the moments to zen out. Rose was giving some beautiful examples of, wow, she had a really crazy busy week last week with the first year anniversary for Women to Follow. And thank you so much for that opportunity to be a part of that in the YouTube video. And Rose, if you have the link, you should post it up in the nest, because I'm sure many of the tribe would love to take a look at that. So do post it up in the nest if you're able to. But what was really valuable was what Rose was describing. Even though there was all that busyness that had happened, she took herself out to the beach and she relaxed. She swam. She sketched, she painted, she gave herself that nurturing that we've been talking about here in the space. That's really important. And Josh mentioned nurturing as well, how important that is. So it's about bringing balance. I mean, that's really how I see boundary setting, is each different situation is going to entail that we, at a moment, at a second, at a millisecond, are going to make a decision. And that decision making is about our well-being overall at the end of the day. It's about our well-being, and also it's not to overcorrect itself, to think, okay, I'm just going to shut everybody out. Although sometimes we do need to take time out from everything. There's certain times of the year where many of us just, of the holidays, there is no other distraction except our family, except our partners, except our friends. And we take that time away from social media, which is well needed, as well as having times during the day where you just block it all out. For example, this morning, so I could be really fresh, ready, invigorated, my cup would be full, I got up at the crack of dawn, I went and hiked up that mountain, and I came back down, had a full breakfast, and I was ready for you guys. Pumped, excited, ready for you guys. Fully, and no social media until I got back, and finished my breakfast. I didn't even look at my phone. I just resist a lot of these things so that I'm not drained, so that I'm not going to burn out. And many of these things that we have to do, we can do by setting boundaries to prevent us from getting exhausted. Not even to the point of, in the extremity of burnout. That's something we never want to do. But even from having some small symptoms of exhaustion, before we get to that. So it is about reflecting and bringing back that element of self-care. Okay, so I see, Nat, your hand is up. Did you want to share something on this topic? And warm welcome to the Positivity Vibe Tribe.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm from across the pond. I'm from Moscow. I think you're from Australia, right? Judging by your accent.
Yes, originally I'm from Australia.
Okay, good. I mean, it doesn't matter, but yeah. So currently I'm facing certain difficult things in my life. Obviously, it's not as difficult as something we like. My country started a full-on war. This is not very positive, but I'm gonna just shortly talk about that. So we are attacking and killing people in the another independent country. And I'm going to talk about how it affected me. I'm in love with someone who is from Denmark. It's a young woman, and we met on Twitter, actually, here. It was just some like a fan group chat, something like that. And we talked on the phone for 3 weeks. I fell in love without knowing how she looks like, which is, I think, the best way to fall in love with, because you don't care about how the person looks like. It's just you fall in love with her personality, her voice, and when I met her, 3 weeks after that, I went to Copenhagen from Moscow, and I met her, and we just instantly just became one. We were in love immediately. And now my country, unfortunately, made some decisions that forbids me from going to see my girlfriend in Denmark. So I have no idea what to do, how to handle this whole situation. I'm trying to be positive, obviously, but it's getting harder and harder. And now, again, my country announced mobilization for men of certain age. And obviously they're going to announce the full mobilization pretty soon. So we're going to be in full war mode. Later, we're expecting a nuclear situation as well. So,
Hey, let me ask you there.
Yep.
Let's first couple things as it relates to love, and this is, I'm not a love doctor, I'm not a professional, but I've loved a few times, and just it sucks that you can't be with that person now. But I will say this, that especially even at my young age, time moves forward. So let those moments that you're not together be those moments that you'll be able to make up for it when you are. But when you're in such an intransient situation, the best thing you really can do is set some boundaries for yourself to just not get too deep down into the morass of how difficult it is, and just try to be positive. Trying to be positive can be anything from faking a smile to, handwriting some letters and sending them, since you can't be there, personally. And we do kind of want to keep it a little short. We don't want to go on, too terribly long, but I think those would be great things. And other folks want to chime in and maybe give you a little bit of love advice quickly. I don't want to stick on the love topic too much, but as it relates to boundaries, I think, use some boundaries in a positive way for this.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you so much. So, in the last 10 minutes, a couple of really neat things have happened. And Nat, absolutely thrilled to no end. Pretty Viet and Spasiba for chiming in.
Guys, who's rustling? I'm getting rustling.
Yeah. So we had 3 different frameworks, protocols, or if I can throw in the Stephen Covey buzzword, paradigms for boundaries. Miss Indra Bartona was talking about boundaries as they pertain to our personal self-management and how we govern ourselves. Rose, very much the same, personal maintenance. Miss Jenny Kuta came up to the stage and speaking just outright out straightforward, said, I'm not an expert on the topic. I'm here bonding with Indra, and gave her justification. So that's managing expectations. She managed the expectations of the room in terms of what she was about to say, and that is in fact a boundary. And she sealed that by saying there are things as a public figure she just doesn't speak to, and vulnerabilities she doesn't put on display. That minimizes any questions that might come in and follow up. So that is in fact a beautiful execution of a boundary. Put it right there, and boom. And then Nat came in and mentioned the restrictions placed on travel. Now, here's the other side of boundary, and that's when they're imposed upon you. So essentially, we've seen boundaries in play in 3 playing fields in the last 10 minutes. I think that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much for coming up to speak, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Rev, just reflecting back there. Really nice summary of Nat's situation. And we are sorry, Nat, and the tribe is sending you lots of extra love and light and blessings for your situation. Absolutely. And Rev, wow, what a voice of experience. Thank you so much for sharing that. And wow, what a summary of we've just come over those different aspects, Stephen. You nailed it completely. Love it so much. Let's go to Diane, and then we're going to go to Josh, because I do see your hand up. Josh, Diane, thank you so much for waiting so patiently. Love to hear your thoughts on this incredible topic of setting boundaries.
Oh, hello, everybody. Hi, Indra. Hi, Rev. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Rose. Well, part of my boundary settings, because I recognize now that when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of boundaries because I was the golden child / scapegoat, and I was the youngest of my siblings. So after the rebel bug brother, I had to be the obedient child to just try to stay under the radar and stay out of trouble in general. So, and I recognize living with my dad, I didn't have as many boundaries as I probably should have as like in just general family settings. And so that became something I noticed over the years, is my lack of boundaries. So it ends up becoming a setting of them mentally, one after another, in different ways. like for like when I'm sleeping. My family generally, friends and family generally know that when I'm sleeping, not to really bother me unless they have to, because I really like my sleep. And I get sort of cranky when I don't get sleep. To the point where if they have to wake me up early, they bribe me. But there's also like other boundaries, like making sure I don't buy into certain mindsets that exist that have been sort of ingrained to us by society, like having the ability to rest when I want. And the whole expectation of you have to have actually done something in order to be tired to deserve rest. So say you're say you have like you're doing stuff around your apartment, but you don't get to like everything that you know you're supposed to have done, and then be like, no, I have to do all this stuff and then I can rest. But if I'm tired now, then the fight through the tiredness is going to make it worse. So I know that I have to rest. I rest when I can, because I may not always be able to rest later. So kind of help develop an ability to sleep wherever and whenever I can.
So Dee, is it safe to say you're discovering your own boundaries, your own parameters, what you're capable of, and really maybe even discovering some places to execute boundaries?
Yeah, I would say that that's been something I've been working on over the years. So when I feel like I have certain boundaries in place that are set that everybody knows, and I know like nobody's going to end up pushing unless they're super brand new and they don't know about that boundary yet, then I'll start looking at maybe is there another place where I've been possibly triggered emotionally, mentally, um whatever. um if there's something that I need to address, and then how do I go about addressing it? What is the boundary that I need to set, and how do I set it?
So go ahead, Stephen.
I was going to say, I was hoping you were going to chime in with the solution to that, but that I'm on that path. Different in that if I've already given myself permission, I understand the fact that it's okay not to be okay. And we're in a space that's amicable to that ideology. And I accept that of myself, that I'm flawed, that there are messes I've made that I have to clean up. And then there are disciplines I have to put in place moving forward. Discovering exactly where to pin those boundaries, you and I have that in common. We're both making those decisions. We're addressing addressing this issue, both each of us in different ways. But I'm excited to hear ongoing what you discover, where you're going to establish these boundaries, so that when you announce to the room, "I'm tired, I'm going to take a nap," don't wreck the place while I'm in there. I expect this of you. The end, and you get on with your day. Um, Indra, do you have any insight?
Yeah, I was listening to what Diane was saying, and actually, Diane, it sounds like you are unfolding things just perfectly for you at your own race and time. I should say your own pace and time. It's not a race. I was going to say it's not a race because we all have our own pace and time. So the main thing is that we need to bring awareness to our situations, and when things aren't feeling right, when they're feeling a bit off, and they may not even get to the point where we're stressed, where we're full of anxiety, but just something isn't feeling right about a situation. And that it could be even work. They're expecting us to work extra hours into our evening, into our own time, rather than just expecting what is normally, reasonable. It can. So to me, what it sounds like is you have brought awareness to your own situations, and now you are moving forward with starting to implement certain things. And it sounds like already with your family, they're understanding that if Diane is sleeping, which is a great example, nobody should be calling you and bothering you unless somebody's house is burning down, unless there is an emergency. So it's great that you are establishing those things. And the great thing about being on this process is it's very encouraging, because we start to build momentum and we feel empowered. Feeling empowered is a great, healthy thing for us, for our well-being, because it gives us a sense of that contentment, that happiness, that good vibe feeling. And that's where we sort of want to resonate and kind of, pivot from. When things, in life, in the moments ahead are going to happen, so that we are at a good place to pivot from, to manage and move forward from that place. So kudos to you, Diane, for being on that path and just tuning into yourself and giving yourself that valuable time that you need in your life, which is sometimes all it is allocating more time for ourselves, that is just dedicated to ourselves to do whatever we want. Our downtime, our playtime, our workout time, whatever that piece is, that's important for us as human beings to put together. Our time where, for example, some of us love to do some meal prep. Allocate that time. Play your music. Have all the good energy around you when you're preparing food for yourself and your family for the rest of the week. Do those things for you with joy. Don't answer the text messages. Don't look at your phone. Don't answer the phone if it rings during that time. This is your time. You're just going to zen out and do the things that you want to do. Hey, Josh, love to hear your thoughts. I see your hand up.
Thank you again, Indra. Yeah, I was just listening to you, and you just hit the nail on the head. And just, I don't know if Nat is still listening, but some extra love to Nat and her situation over there. Thank you, Stephen and Rev, for your insights. Great stuff. Like Stephen said, just in this conversation we've been having, we've seen all different kinds of, the way boundaries can take shape. Whether it's Diane and her sleep schedule, we all have different sleep schedules. So her discovering that and being in this space with Indra and us and the tribe to be able to talk about that is key and important. And because she knows what her body needs. We all know what our body needs. So if we can cue in on the things that our body tells us, like Stephen said, we can start to pinpoint where those boundaries need to be made. And so, oh, wow, just great stuff. I'm just so glad to be listening in today. I would just say, to bring it back to mindfulness and wellness, boundaries to me, really isn't limitations. It's putting yourself more in balance, so, and I would say even with financial aspect of things, you do want to find a balance, because there could be too much risk. You don't want to be too risky. You want to have an abundance mindset. Absolutely. That's the mindset you want to have, is abundance. But you do want to make, there could be too much risk. You could be swinging way too far one way. So again, it's knowing what works for you in your individual situation, and finding those boundaries, those sweet spots. And then, like Diane is in, and many of us are, and myself too, in this discovery phase where, okay, where do some boundaries need to be placed? And that comes in with being in tune with yourself. And, I think a key thing that Indra mentioned earlier on is journaling. So journaling can be a great way to find out where maybe you need to make some of these boundaries. hey, why am I feeling this way? So if you're feeling out of balance, like, what is really going on? Like, where are we spending time and energy? Where can we make some adjustments? Because ultimately, like Indra said, you want to find that empowerment, that balance, and balance can give you that so that you can continue forward on your goals, on your missions. Because if you're out of balance, like I was, I just left a very high demanding 24/7 on call, intense position, and things can get out of balance. And like Indra said, and everybody mentioned earlier, if that happens to you when you're at that kind of an unbalance, you're no good to your family, you're no good to the rest of your team, or the people that you may work with. So you got to take care. And when it comes down to balance is self-care. Boundaries is self-care. Boundaries is balance. And it can be difficult to find, but again, spaces like this, Indra, Stephen, Rev, thank you for this, because it's helping us all discover those things. Just a huge thank you again, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate those words. And it's truly exciting. I know I just felt so much excitement for you when you shared with me that you were making this shift and then you made it. And so very, very inspiring, because sometimes it doesn't always feel easy or comfortable to make the boundary setting moves. So I just want to add that in. Don't expect to always feel a level of comfort, because sometimes boundary setting, as we're making changes, as we're making adjustments in our life, is the unknown zone. Okay, everyone, the unknown zone can sometimes even feel a little bit scary, because we're also thinking, and also we tend to overthink as well, many of us. What is going to happen if I make this decision? How are they going to react? What else could possibly happen? So there's going to be that. And also, even in the personal realm or business/personal realm, there could also be, you may already feel a bit of guilt before you've even made your change or your decision, particularly with family members are concerned, where loved ones are concerned, with good friends, even long-term business associates. Remember, there could even be a little bit of guilt about, I just can't give them that extra hour. I need to be with my family. I need to sit down and have a meal. And I can't work that extra hour that they're expecting me to. Not that I'm being paid for it, but but there could be even that guilt over, I should be really doing that. Maybe I should be. Maybe I shouldn't be. So, or when you say that you can't make some commitment with somebody because you have to tune back into your self-care. So it doesn't mean that all boundary setting is going to just be free and easy for you. Let's be real about this, everyone. We're grown-ups, and we have just a variety across the board of emotions. But given that we've done the logical part of our thinking process, and that this is for our better good, for our well-being, that should help us to ease any guilt that we have over feeling uncomfortable about a decision with other people, or feeling a level of, uncertainty about the future if we've made, various decisions. Just try to release those things and honor yourself with your decision and stand firm and in balance with your own self and tuning into yourself, and always just go back and do the nurturing if you're feeling something else. So let's go to Lance. Now, warm welcome to Lance. And if Lance is here, that means Karen is here. Regulars in the tribe. And thank you so much for being such a great support.
Hi, Indra. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Rev. Hi, Rose. Hi, everybody, and Josh as well. So grateful to be here always with the PVT family tribe. My mom's making her own personal boundary right now for her own self-care and having a bit of a spa day for herself. So she says, I'm kind of here listening as I'm having this, but I'm always with the tribe as well. So I respect that with her. So boundaries. I went through years and years and years with understanding boundaries and heavy codependent relationships. And I got so sick and tired about being sick and tired to the point of my ability where I said, what the heck are they? How do I get them? And I went to my mom and I said, why am I going through all these relationships, to talk anything from business relationships or toxic relationships? And she just said to me, well, get to know you. And I found out if we don't love ourselves first, then we won't. Well, what the heck is the rest of our life if we don't love ourselves first? So in order to set boundaries, I remember when I was with my girlfriend at the time, before she became my ex, how she became my ex was she was getting to the point in the relationship where it was getting to the point toxic. She never wanted to talk things out. She never wanted to set any type of boundaries. Always wanted to stay up late, and this was really putting a dapper on my health, because at the time I was still in with the food services industry, working long 13 hours a day. And some of those types of relationships, even in food services or in different areas of my life, where it felt like if you could build a card house, everything was coming down all at once. So I said, this is the problem of what it's feeling like right now. And if I want to have this physical, mental, emotional, spiritual connection, all those are being ruined right now. So instead of saying everything was okay, I ended up going to counseling for myself, getting help. And I found out like a lot of this was with codependence. We came from adult children of alcoholics. So going through like ACA. So I went through different programs to understand like how heavy the codependency was, what to do with it, how to love me all over again, setting those healthy boundaries to the point of my ability where I just knew that I would be walking for a very long time with having a relationship with myself and not anybody else. Like I always have relationships with every aspect of people, either in business or anywhere else. It doesn't always mean that those relationships have to be sexually. It just means that I had to walk away from that. And there's a part where my partner said before I walked away from it was, you can't live on without anybody else. And I ended up saying, with walking tall and carrying a big stick at the time, I said, I will live on, and I will walk on to have a better life. And I stand firm with it. My boundaries had to be very consistent and very solid, as a very big solid foundation for myself. Without consistency as being king, then you will not stand a chance, because boundaries cannot be wishy-washy. Once you make a boundary, it's like you have to live by it. And I can understand about people being in distance and into relationships where they want relationships right now to work, and then there's a time delay. So time does get to be a bit of a delay into there, but at the same time, it's also a delay for a reason, so we get to understand more about us. Is this coming from a need to be needy, or is this coming from a want to be superly liked, or like where do I stand with this? So it's, for me, it was about fact finding, not fault finding, about finding out different things about myself. And it was the quest to find me, or to know who I am deep down inside. So it's, even though that it took years to find me, I'm still grateful to this day for the journey. And other things about boundaries too, I had to walk away from really difficult jobs and bosses. I had one boss in security that put me in as a site supervisor. I love the position, but then where I never loved the position is because I became an electronic leash on my cell phone for people to phone me anytime. And that's where boundaries were being crossed with the boss. The boss says, well, if you don't like what I put down for the job, you can move on with your life. And I said, can we agree to a disagree on something? And he says, no, my way or the highway. So when it became black and white, I just said, okay, fine. I have to walk away in order to love me and be healthy too. But that's my take.
Thanks so much for sharing, Lance, and really proud of you for your journey and how far you've come with this process. It doesn't mean, it was a good segue from when I mentioned it doesn't mean that life is going to be easy by setting
Mhm.
the boundaries, that's for sure. But your overall well-being is going to be honored. And I say honored because of what you just shared with us about the fact that you had to recognize, that it wasn't in your best interest if you didn't set the boundaries, if you didn't make the change. And sometimes the changes can be dramatic, and it needs to be. It doesn't mean that it's going to be comfortable. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy,
No.
but it's about putting ourselves in a first position of what is really good for our overall health and well-being 100%. Because as I mentioned before, I believe that we're all here for different purposes. We're all so unique, but we will not be able to serve anyone at our best level, let alone ourselves, if we're not honoring ourselves. And boundaries are this piece that bring us right back into balance, that put everything into perspective. Even if we have a process of managing the expectations of this change of boundaries within ourselves and within others. So it is a process, but I think it is truly so empowering. I'd love to swing back over
Thank
to
you, Indra.
Jenny. Yeah, thanks, Lance,
Yep.
so much. And love and light to Karen, listening on her spa day. How lovely.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jenny, I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of this because, as I mentioned earlier, you brought a really valuable insight into this space, being the still maintaining, and again, it comes back to this balance of this abundance mindset of some areas letting flow free. I would almost say that, like in an energy way, if it's an investment area and the risks are higher, or we have to invest with some trust and abandonment at some level, we have to let the energy flow. But what are your thoughts about some of the things that have been shared? I'd love to know.
Well, as I share about my perspective of, how I believe financial and public business entrepreneurship types of boundaries could be the opposite as that of personal boundaries. And I still do believe that because um, uh, to share a bit more personally, as a person, I'm super, super private when it comes to my personal life. I only share um, probably with just one or two, not even a handful. We have 5 fingers on our hand. I probably share my utmost personal, private things with just one or two people. Um, but when it comes to my public life, I'm very publicized, very, uh, uh, I speak my mind, being super straightforward. Um, and so the two things to me are very opposite. It's kind of like black and white, right? If my personal life is white, my public life is black. There is no in between. The gray zone, if to say, okay. That could also be because I'm also an Aries. I don't know. A lot of my friends who are into zodiacs, horoscopes, tarot reading, they say, well, Jenny, Aries are normally black and white. There is no gray zone with an Aries, and I believe that makes me, you know, good in what I do when it comes to business. Stephen has worked with me for a few months. He knows I say as I do as I say. If I say it, I'll do it. And that's more in terms of setting boundaries of my work ethics as a public figure running a company and running different teams. Okay. Now, on the personal side, I do set boundaries, obviously, when it comes to relationships, love, romance, whom or who I'm dating, or who or whom I want to date, or whom I want to open up when it comes to communication, sharing feelings and thoughts. Because usually, when we open up such boundaries, when it comes to relationships and feelings, and how do I feel about you? How do you feel about me? When you open up those kinds of topics, you open up your boundaries to be hurtful, to be harm, to be again hurt, right? And so that's why, on the personal perspective, when it comes to boundaries, love and relationships and such, we tend to be more close niche. We close up ourselves, okay? Because the more that you are close, the more you're not hurt and you're not harmed. But when you do that, there's also a downside. And that downside is, I do have quite a number of friends, male and females. They come to me and share about their love life, their romance, their relationships. And they chose the path to be super tight niche, close up boundaries, don't want to open up, but they're giving up also, could be potentially the love of a lifetime, right? Like I've shared earlier, everything in life has a risk and a reward ratio. On the financial side, there's a phrase that we always hear: more risks, more rewards. Okay, if you don't put out the risk, you're not going to be that bazillionaire that you want it to be, because it goes side by side: more risk, more rewards. The same side in terms of personal life, romance, relationships, it's kind of the same, you know, even though it's the opposite. I would go, 100% taking risk on the business side, investment, entrepreneurship. When somebody gives an idea, if I think I could do it, I'll go out, I execute it. I don't have to think twice. Okay, that's on the business side. But on the relationship side, it's the opposite to a certain extent, such as, I do put boundaries on myself. I don't share my feelings. I don't want to say what I truly feel on the inside per se. Now, if that happens, then let's just say some of my friends that I had witnessed, right? I can witness a guy friends who's so much in love with this one girlfriend of mine, but because she's been hurt in the past, and I'm sure all of us in this room, okay, have some way, somehow, some form, okay, have been hurt. If you said that, oh no, Jenny, I haven't, okay, then that means you don't know what true love really is, at least not yet. Okay. But in this room, I believe, and I can safely say, 100% of everyone in this room may have already gone through what it's called the word love, right? And if you did, you will probably at least once in a lifetime gotten hurt. Okay, you got hurt, so then because you got hurt, you became vulnerable, and so you became tight niche, and then so you set so much boundaries that the next love that comes to you, which I've witnessed many times in all of my friends, That next love that comes to you could be that true love, okay? But because you overset, the word is overset your boundaries in your personal life, you will never know what true love really is, because you're just living in the past, and that past hurt you, it harmed you, okay? So you live in the past, and therefore you are not living in the future. And that is not how you live. We must live in the future. That includes self love, that includes setting boundaries, but just to a point that you can still live a life and explore. And the bottom line, always give love that second chance, because you never know. So I think I've shared more than I've ever shared when it comes to, you know, personal, relationships, love and romance and stuff like that, that I normally share offline with just some of my friends. But on Twitter Spaces today, obviously, totally the opposite as I normally share. So I don't know. I hope that helps, but that's my perspective between both types of boundaries. Between I separated them between personal and business. So that's just black and white, and that's how I see fit. Thanks,
Thank
Indra.
you. Oh, thank you so much, Jenny. Uh, it was so valuable, your share here in this space. And it was so powerful when you shared the emphasis of this is something that we all do, and so many of us do this, and we know people that are sitting there and they're not embracing the possibility of entering into love again because they've been burned before, and so now those boundaries, like you said, they're imbalanced and they're overset. And I think this is a wonderful aspect to bring to this discussion, which we haven't, mentioned, the oversetting and the overstepping, and what could we be missing out. So there is that fine line of balance on either side. Are we finding the right balance? Are we really tuning into ourselves to make sure that this is the right decision? Do I really need to take the entire evening off, or would it be better if I did catch up with the family and friends? Am I missing out on an opportunity maybe if I don't go? I might have met somebody. My family invited a whole group of people over. Are there opportunities that are going to be missed? So we really it is such an individual thing for all of us, and you really highlighted that, Jenny, that each of these processes are choices in our life, and they can have quite an impact, just as you mentioned, just as powerful as the financial aspect. Thank you so much for feeling so comfortable to share everything in this space about your thoughts and your insights on this, because it's really, really valuable and very insightful. But also, there was so much logic in the way you presented everything from on the personal side as well. I think we don't give ourselves an opportunity sometimes in life. And those missed opportunities are things that we never want to wonder about. We never want to sit there and think, what if I would have gone to that? What if I opened my heart for 5 minutes? What if I just took that phone call with that person? And what if we never want to have that what if, that moment. So if you make the decision, go with the decision. Don't sit in that neutral kind of back and forth, funky feeling of the what if or regret. Just be bold with your decisions, one way or another. And if you feel like you've overcorrected, and you're a little bit overset on that boundary, then figure out a method, a strategy in how you can bring back balance to something. So wonderful share, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me, Indra.
Absolutely. Really enjoying getting to know you, Jenny, and all of what you do. For everybody who's also curious about the Ms. Jenny Q entrepreneurial spirit powerhouse woman in this space. It's all true. She laughs, but it's all true. She has been putting together an incredible new project for herself in the NFT world, all featured around NFT goats, and then there's much bigger things to come, and PVT is going to be very much in there with this new Project A. Let me tell you, it is super exciting, and Stephen is our chief designer, as you know, creative spirit.
Okay, so NFT goats standing for greatest of all time, not the bucking animal that stands on hillsides. So when she says NFT goats, I I laughed, and that was nice. So yes, goats, but not the animal. Acknowledging those who have risen to the top of their game and paying tribute for the greatest of all time.
Love it. That's what I mean, PVT tribe. When I say goats, I mean that, what Stephen just said right there. Okay. All right. So let's swing around. Hey, Rose, let's come back to you and see what thoughts you've had. And also, do share what we're up to tomorrow evening as part of the wrap up of Women to Follow first year anniversary.
Thank you, Indra. It's been a great space, really valuable. Such a surprise. This is what I love about Twitter Spaces. I wouldn't have known from this title that we would have gotten into this deep discussion from the perspective of someone in Russia who can't leave, and what the country is doing in Ukraine, to hearing Jenny Kuta talking about how she sets boundaries between her professional life and her personal life. Really very interesting. And also the idea that you need to take risks in business, whereas in your personal life, you have to be careful, because but not too careful, because then you shut out the possibility of a really wonderful connection in falling in love. And as far as my space, tomorrow, I started my Twitter handle, which went viral in 2018, and I followed that by writing Twitter threads of 17 women. One of them actually is on Jenny Q, which you can probably find, which I'm sure you can find. And then in July of last year, I started a Woman to Follow live stream show. And I've interviewed 34 guests. I've done a few shows about Russia, women in war in Ukraine, about abortion rights and privacy. And then, my first guest was Kirsten Alana, who you may know here on Twitter, who's a great photographer and travel blogger, to a Persian writer who left Iran after the Shah came to power. I think Stefan heard that one. So now I'm bringing that conversation to Twitter Spaces. I've done several of them. Some of my guests, it's very hard once I interview them on my live stream to also get them to commit to Twitter Space. But fortunately, Indra, Jennifer Navarrete, known as E-Podcaster on Twitter, and Gia El Hassan from Malaysia are going to join me tomorrow night for looking at my fifth, I guess, Woman to Follow space. And I'll be talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be hearing from Jennifer about her podcasting and how she's advocating for people sharing, the benefits of sharing content on Web3. And Gia, who is a marketing and business professional who has a really terrific, it's called Decoded with Gia, and she tackles these huge subjects like education around the world, and gets like really amazing people now lately coming to our space, and it's very deep discussion. So I really think it'll be a great discussion, and I hope, and being on Twitter Spaces as opposed to my live stream where people can comment, but this will be more interactive, and we'll be sure to save some time so people can ask questions and comment. So I hope you all join me tomorrow night for a Woman to Follow Space at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. in where Indra is in California.
Awesome, amazing. Thank you so much. And everybody, the space link is up in the nest for Rose's space tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when I talk about the nest, it's those dots above the space. So it's a very first post up there. And then next up there, hey, Rev, did you want to talk about our interview this evening? That's posted up in the nest too. If you're free to speak, you can chime in any time. Revolution McInnes is interviewing me over on the Fireside platform this evening, and there is a link there up in the nest, and we're going to talk about movies and entertainment, what I do for my day job as a producer living here in Hollywood. So we're going to talk about a little bit of that. I'm going to definitely share some celebrations about the short film and all the winnings to come with that short film this year. So do join us over on the Fireside platform if you're available this evening. And then also up in the nest is the replay from last night from our partners at Bunsen & Beaker. So do check that out. And there's a little dolphin story that I share. Growing up in Australia, there's been a lot of dolphin connections, let's just say that, and it's really fun. And then also I have my guided meditation to relax to on self-care. So do try that one out. There's many others on my website, on the YouTube website, and love your subscribe. Then also there's the link to join the community, the Positivity Vibe Tribe community, if you haven't already joined. And then also there is a post up there to thank our sponsors for the show, Wordsmith Pakistan. And if you want to reach out to them for any help and support with content creation, they are really amazing. So do so. And then lastly, there is the show, Self-Care Living, which is under 10 minutes if you'd like to watch that, of course, on my YouTube channel. Rev, are you able to speak? I know you fell off the platform. Let's see if he's able. Rev, can you hear us?
Yeah, I was getting rugged by the rug. I don't know what was going on there. Nothing was working, but yeah, 100%. I am so stoked. Ladies and gentlemen, this Wednesday, coming to you on Fireside, a most special evening with Indra Bartona. We're going to be talking movies and maybe a little positivity, but mostly movies. And it's going to be a fun little different movie night on Mark Cuban's. We're throwing it in there. Mark, are you listening? Fireside. Everybody come on over. If you want an exclusive invite, you got to DM me. Pay me $50. No, just kidding. DM me if you want to be able to be on the show and make it in so you don't have to be vetted, because not everybody's as pretty as I am. So, if you don't want to be vetted, hit me up. If you don't want to be vetted, if you don't want to be vetted, hit me up on the DM. I can give you an exclusive VIP invite. I am super stoked to have Indra on there tonight, and we're going to have a great time. So, yeah, look up there in the nest and join us.
Yay, it's going to be all fun and games over on the Fireside platform tonight. Really looking forward to it. Rev, it's going to be a great discussion on my journey as a producer and where I'm at now with everything as well. A little sneak peek into my feature film development phase. I'm definitely going to throw that in, and really super excited. So do hit Rev up with a DM if you'd like to join us. It will be fun for sure. Okay, so I want to head back to Lance. Lance, have you got any kind of wrap up thoughts on this topic? That it's been quite a journey on how and why we set boundaries.
Yes, thank you again, Indra, for allowing me to speak. To wrap everything up here under another thing under boundaries, where you said the journey may not be easy. I don't ever pray for the journey to ever to be easy. I had to pray a lot of times in times of struggle to try to find the strength. So I had to get used to feeling uncomfortable about being comfortable inside of that. But good stuff ended up coming out of making healthy boundaries. I could set my own boundaries. I could have them. I felt free when I found out where I could actually break the chains of different addictions, or breaking the chains from feeling like nobody else can step over my boundaries. There's a story I have before I'll let y'all go, of where a person was coming into my personal space and said, I can walk all over your boundaries. I had to take the person aside professionally and saying to them lightly, like, listen, you're not going to walk over my boundaries. I've set them. They're not like I said to them, they're set in stone, that are comfortable for me. You may not like them, but I'm not allowing you to walk all over me. And years ago, if I never had them set, I would allow that person to walk on me. But when they were set the way that they are, I allowed the person to know gently where I was coming from. The person never liked it, obviously, but at the same time, if I allowed that person to walk on me at that point in my life, it would have been, not only would that have been an example of me going back on my boundaries and betraying myself again, but it would be very detrimental to also my team that I was building inside of food services, where I once was a part of that team before I had to walk away from it through other uncertainties. But that's my take on it. It's been a great PVT space, always a great PVT space. That's why I keep coming back. Thank you again, Indra, and thank you, listeners and other speakers and co-hosts.
Thank you so much, Lance, and also wishing Karen a wonderful spa day back there. I know she's busy having a spa day, so love it, and wonderful how she's still listening to the PVT space. Love it so much. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, it's very empowering to hear it in your voice, that boundary setting. It agrees with you, Lance. 100%. Love it so much.
Thank you, Indra.
I want to invite one of our friends here in the Positivity Vibe Tribe, Rachel Thompson, has just joined us. And a lot of the times, our spaces can overlap, and she's crazy busy. So thank you so much for dropping in. Love to hear some of your thoughts about boundary setting, this topic, because I believe that you have had a lot of experience with this, real life experience, and it's always valuable to hear these things. So warm welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really just came in to listen. I love talking about boundaries because as someone who does a lot of different things, I have to set boundaries every day. How many spaces I'll be in or hosting, whether I'll be available for calls or, taking my kids here and there. Like, I think every aspect of our life, if we don't set boundaries, we're just going to exhaust ourselves. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned as a writer, as a business owner, excuse me, as a trauma survivor, as a mom, just all those different things. There are so many different types of boundaries to learn about that many of us don't even realize. And then we can say, okay, I need to take control of this situation, whatever it may be, and decide, one of the things Samantha Postman's always saying is, does this bring energy and joy to me, or does it deplete me? And I think that's such a great question to ask ourselves when it comes to, do I want to do this thing or not? So that's really been helpful for me. I hope that that's helpful for y'all. And thank you for having me here today.
Thanks so much. That's really valuable. And I think it puts everything in perspective. When we think about it's almost with boundary setting, you can almost go back to that formula of with your purpose and your passion for life, does it bring you joy? You know, ask yourself the questions, maybe even write it down sometimes. I love this idea that you've just introduced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really helpful that, and this is kind of where what I'm bouncing it off of, is when I first started therapy years ago. My daughter, I had my first child, and I had postpartum depression. And so I got into therapy, and one of the first things he said to me is this good for you? How does this make you feel? And if you can't answer yes or no, this is good for me, then you need to explore further, a little bit deeper. But if your immediate reaction, your gut reaction is nope, done, then, honor that. And that's, I think, really helpful to start trusting ourselves as adults and make decisions that are good for us.
Yeah, that's really amazing, because that really is, I think, key. Trust yourself and ask yourself the questions. And sometimes I think it's almost like that moment where we just have to take a little bit of solitude time for ourselves in our busy days, and whatever that means, that okay, I'm just going to set aside, it's Friday afternoon, it's 2:00. Okay, I'm just going to take the rest of the afternoon. I've had a busy week, I've done everything that I can do, but now I need to turn some of this time, energy, and focus to myself. And I think that's really wonderful, to ask yourself that question. It seems so simple. Is this good for me? Yes or no? It's virtually a yes or a no, I almost think, when it's framed like that. And we can also tune into our bodies and our emotions when we ask ourselves a question. Have any of you ever done that? And I mean, the best way that I do it is sometimes I write it down in front of me, just on a notepad. I look at it, and then I ask myself a question, and I close my eyes. So what that does is that blocks the external world for me out. So then I'm going within myself, and I'm consciously going within myself, because then, okay, I'm not looking out the window, I'm not looking at a computer screen, I'm not looking at my phone, I'm just not even looking at the ceiling. I have closed the door on the world, on the externals, on the environment. I'm no longer able to react to anything that's going to happen there. So I shift my focus to myself, my inner world. And that's really what it comes down to. Asking yourself the simplest of questions. Is this good for me? Which is Rachel's. I love it. I'm going to finish the quote and put that out from you as well. I love it so much. Does this make me happy? Will it make me happy? Is this going to be for my overall well-being? So when I say, is this going to be good for my overall well-being, it might mean that there's a transition of discomfort level sometimes that I mentioned earlier when we have these some of these bigger decisions to make for our greater good. It sometimes means it's not going to be comfortable for that moment, but in the end, it will make us feel happy. It is going to be good for us. So is it going to be good for me? Might not immediately release things. It might even bring a little bit of anxiety to this decision because of the action steps that you have to take. And of course, with all decisions, there are going to have to be implementation. So in that implementation phase, just be real with yourself and be gentle and kind. I think it's the most valuable thing that I have been to myself when there is an implementation phase. And there are a couple of steps that have to be put in place with this phase of setting some of these boundaries, whether work, play, personal, whatever the realm is. Sometimes it's not immediate, but it can give you a lot of relief in the immediate moment, in the present moment, reflecting back to Jenny of living in the present moment, by making those decisions to start with. And then you can move forward with your life towards a vibrant and wonderful future, because you can leave that behind and you're moving forward with action plans, with action steps to do that. So really, I want to focus to, end this conversation, this beautiful, valuable conversation that we all have to have. Sometimes it's not easy, boundary setting, because it either entails, it's not easy, and this is the most interesting thing, sometimes it's not easy because it has to be done with ourselves, the action, more so than even with external environments, other people involved. The most difficult thing sometimes is for us to take action on something. But overall, the benefits of boundary setting really outweigh anything else that we could possibly think of. I mean, we have an increased sense of self as we have more time for ourselves, whether that be solitude or a hobby or going to the beach, as Rose said, or reading a book or doing whatever we need to do, spending time with loved ones, with family. Our level of independence can actually become stronger when we set those boundaries, rather than being a bit shaky, because we've actually proven to ourselves that we can set these boundaries and we feel that sense of empowerment, of independence. Boundaries are also one of my favorite things, is that they are preventative for us burning ourselves out, for losing energy. As Rachel had mentioned, that you can just run yourself low on energy if you do not say no thank you. We can experience actually increased levels of health and in general a sense of well-being by setting these new boundaries, by reevaluating boundaries. And sometimes that's on a daily basis, that we just need to take a moment and reflect inwards to ourselves. And like I like to do, close my eyes, go to my inner world and ask myself the questions, even if they are hard sometimes, but don't be reactive to your external world. And our focus is often heightened now that we are less distracted, because we've made those decisions by boundary setting, and that can really power us into our work, into what we're doing, into our passion of life. And that is really exciting. Feeling empowered when we follow through with our boundaries and they are executed, wow, that is another whole celebration for us to also acknowledge that we have come that far. I think sometimes we forget to celebrate those small wins, but to reflect and look back, and that we have moved forward in this positive, powerful direction. We really have to embody those wins, I feel, because it's easy to just, oh, okay, we did that, next. So celebrate the small wins and the big wins. And it really does, by setting those boundaries, it builds your assertiveness and your communication style by setting those clear boundaries. Quite a few people mentioned this, this communication about sharing, what the boundaries are with others. And it actually can help us to feel more assertive as well. And it's important that our communication style is assertive when we're doing that, in business and in our personal life, to find that style of communication. And sometimes that is a bit of catering to our, whoever the person is, the audience of who we are addressing with setting these boundaries, and a little bit of thought in advance on, well, how am I going to execute this boundary setting exercise for myself? So when embarking on the journey of setting boundaries, which is going to be our lifelong practice, learn about the different variations of also saying no. And I actually have virtually a variation list. I know this might sound funny, but depending on what the situation is and who it is aimed at, it has actually given me a comfort level. And it just started by me thinking about this and writing things out. And I ended up having a list of different ways to say, no, thank you. This isn't for me. So find your own methodology for doing that. And even sometimes it's handy I just do a quick scroll through and look at all the different variations and just cater it to whatever the situation is. And it's a little bit of planning on my behalf, but it gives me that feeling of comfort level, of confidence, that I can go in and I really know how I'm going to execute this. And particularly in a business situation, this has really been a great fallback position for me to have those up my sleeve on how I'm going to address this situation in whatever boundary situation setting it is. So, wow, it has been an incredible, incredible space, everybody. I'm really grateful for this journey with everybody. Co-host, do you have any last add-ons in there? Stephen, over to you.
If I may, and I meant to drop this earlier, when you mentioned the GOAT, I meant to have the artists, writers, musicians, and creatives ping myself. We've got Jenny in the loop now, but we're heading over to Vitalik the GOAT, so people can understand how to move their products into Web3, and she's made a seamless, easy transition. And the layout is very much like what they, the not the next project, but the project after that is going to be, and that's going to be showcasing your artworks, your wares, etc. And because I'm no longer subject to insider trading restrictions, I'm going to tell you where I'm going right now, and that's the Vitalik the GOAT NFTs. If you want an easy step into Web3 and want your inaugural purchase, I'm happy to walk you through it. It's a super cool, super simple, and for me to be on top of it, it's got to be simple. I know the room knows that. So get in there, grab your first NFT, tell your kids you're now an NFT collector. And on the other side, the artists, writers, musicians, and creatives, ping me in the DM and we'll walk through the process. And that's all I have to say about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not believe that man. He is not simple. He is incredibly complex and incredibly brilliant. I've seen his command center. He is an amazing human being. I might try and join you over there, Stephen. Indra, I wanted to wrap it up with, come see our show tonight. You're going to meet Indra in a whole new light. And, if Stephen shows up, Stephen, wear a shirt. He knows what I mean. And we will see you all tonight on the big program on Fireside. Indra, as always, what a phenomenal event here. And setting boundaries is something that everybody needs to do. It is a key to being. And at the end of the day, whatever you believe, you just wanna be.
Nice. Nicely said. So anybody that wants to join us over on the Fireside platform tonight as Rev interviews me, hit him up for a DM and he will send you the link so you can jump in on the live show. And it's going to be loads of fun. Yes, I'm going to give you a little bit of a story about how I all got started in this creative entertainment life, even though I do have a bachelor's in business degree. So, business, corporate, and the entertainment world is my vibe, and the Positivity Vibe Tribe is my passion. Absolutely. All right. Hey, Jenny, over to you. See, your hand is up.
Yeah, actually, just a quick question because of prior to Stephen had the Vitalik the goat situation. You mentioned about how each of us you know I guess what is the word set our own boundaries in terms of the word how. Now this could be the next, maybe the next time you have an episode or a space about a similar topic, I would love to join when we can discuss about, you know, how there's a saying, silence is sometimes the best answer, right? Silence is sometimes the best answer. Now, that could be a topic in itself because I would love to know, obviously, when we are silent, and we chose being silent, if that is to be the best answer, does that affect the other person, you know? So it's a very I wouldn't say controversial, but because I know so many people, I have a lot of friends who do bring up this particular topic to me, you know, and they say, well, Jenny, you know, silent you know, is an answer too. Silent could be the best answer. But then on the opposite side, let's just say, you know, the person whom the silent was being given to, they're actually hurt or harm, right? So I'm a friend of multi different friends where I stay in the middle and I see both sides of the situation. Um, and I don't know, could be a good topic to discuss. You know, for the next time or something like that, because I'm really curious to know about that particular perspective. When we choose silence as an answer, is obviously it's good for ourselves, or is it? But then is it good for the opposite person, or is it a way that we chose silent to intentionally harm the other person? Now, is that something good to do? Is that a good energy for us to put on ourselves, or put against someone that either we used to love or we no longer love? As you can see, it could get super complicated just on the subject of, is silent truly is the best answer, or it isn't. So that's something for next time, but I just thought to share that at the end. Thank you so much, Indra.
Jenny, that is a fascinating topic. And actually, I have that as a requested actual topic for one of my newsletters, because I've had about 5 or 6 people asking me, could I share my thoughts on that? So I might have to do it as a show and as a future newsletter topic for those people. But it's something that there are so many nuances to this topic. As you mentioned, there's the person doing the action of silence, and then there's the receiver, and then the situations that could vary and have varied. And have we been a part of those situations on either side? How does it feel? Is it good, or is it a way to protect ourselves? Or, you know, what is the intentions behind this? So it is an incredible topic. I love this topic. I think it would be a really incredible topic for us to have many, many discussions and different points of view in the Positivity Vibe Tribe on this topic. And also because it is a little controversial, as in, it's, I think when you say controversial, I think it's because people don't know, like, should I not answer that, or should I say something? And it poses you know, an issue of, sometimes we might be silent and we don't mean to harm others, but it certainly has harmed the other person. And so there is a complexity to that, with our energy and with our vibration and how it is received, because every single thing that we do, whether it's an action, whether it's a word, even our connection to others in a phone call, in a space, we are sending out energy, vibrations, frequency into the universe, and how that is perceived or how it is received can also take on a new type of energy from the receiver, and how their world is set up, and the perception of the answer, of the energy. So all of those things are really complex, but so fascinating on so many different levels. So thank you for putting that idea forward. I had it only as a newsletter, and I hadn't thought of it as a topic for discussion. So maybe everybody, if you want to come back next Wednesday in the community space, how about we feature this amazing idea from Jenny Q on silence, to be or not to be. Maybe let's call it that, shall we? A little Shakespearean twist because of the drama element involved. It's definitely dramatic, and the use of our voices or not is really powerful to consider. So hope to see you all back here next Wednesday for that topic. Thank you so much, Jenny. I love this, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this topic. I can see that now in exploring the different levels and from all the different personalities here. And ultimately, I mean, we never want to put out anything negative or bad vibe, because we understand that the universe is listening, and the universe will respond to us one way or another if we're sending out lower vibrations. So we always want to do our best consciously to put out our best vibrations. So this is an incredible topic that we can look forward to next week. And in the meantime, we are going to have tonight the show with Rev. So I do hope to see lots of your lovely faces in over in the Fireside platform. And again, just send Rev a DM for an invite, and that's definitely a way that we can get you over onto the platform. And then, of course, tomorrow is going to be an incredible space where I host the space also with my friend, Success Minded. And we are going to be talking about creating positive moments. So that is a new community, Positivity Vibe Tribe space time, and it's actually at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yes, instead of me getting up at 6 a.m., I am up at 5:30 a.m. bright and early, and I am ready for you guys every Thursday morning at this new time of 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you are up and if you want to drop into this wonderful conversation all about creating positive moments in your life and enhancing the moments that you already have in your life, we're really looking forward to this. And a lot of this stems around mindset and that focus on mindset. So do join us for that and check out all the things in the nest. Thank you to everybody that's been so active in the chat. I am definitely going to head back into the chat and cover everything else off. And also, hey, don't forget, there is so much going on. Rose is interviewing me in the Twitterverse tomorrow evening as well. So that'll be on my page, and it's also up on the nest. There are a lot of interviews going on, everybody. There is a lot going on in the Positivity Vibe Tribe spaces and in the realm of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. So do catch up with us all and be a part of this fun and this vibe that we're setting out. Thank you so much to the co-hosts, Rev and Stephen, as always. Appreciate all that you do, even behind the scenes. Thank you to our partners, Bunsen and Beaker. Thank you to the speakers for your contributions and discussions and incredible insights that you share in this space with us all. We really do love to hear the differences of ideas in these spaces. It really does, it brings so much to us. And we are lifelong learners. So your contributions are incredible. And I'm always opening my mind and learning so much from all of you for sharing in this space with us. So much gratitude. Lastly, I want to thank the listeners. Now, a lot of listeners have been in the chat, lighting up the chat. It's going crazy. You guys are all over that chat. It's blowing up. Let me tell you, it is on fire. I'm going to get in there after this space and catch up with you all. I really am excited to get in there and read everything and respond to you all. So thank you so much. Gratitude for lighting up that chat. As always, you guys are incredible. That's all I can say for you listeners. Incredible. Bringing your energy, your presence to this space. Without you, we would not have such a beautiful space. So catch you guys tonight if you're going to hop over to the Fireside platform for Rev interviewing me about my life in entertainment. And then also we're back in the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Yeah, we're going to bring that vibe back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be shooting out a space very soon after I hop off this one. In the meantime, it has been an incredible space. I'm excited for all that is in front of us for the next 24 hours. I am energized because of all of you. I have learned so much because of all of you. And I am sending you love, light, and blessings.